Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So today's video I'm going to be testing the Lenovo LEGION 5 RYZEN 7 with an RTX 3070 in STARFIELD on all the graphics modes. Now if you don't know what STARFIELD is, it's a new game which recently came out. It's mainly for Xbox or Microsoft services. I'm currently running it from the Game Pass, so I've got the free version essentially. So I'm going to be testing out all the settings for all the graphic demands and just seeing what it looks like in general. So as you can see here, it is currently on Ultra, but you have got complete presets for everything such as film grain, VRS, whatever that is. I don't tend to look at all that stuff. I tend to look at the first slot that I'm just scrolling through now. Obviously I've got 1080p display. I'm not too sure if I may try and test it on a 4K display at some point, but let's first of all get started with the low settings. So first of all, I just want to say this isn't a gameplay. I've already started gameplay for this, so I've already seen all this stuff. So now we're back in the mode, I can now finally start testing out all the important bits. But first of all, I just want to point out it's very grainy in the low settings, and that's what's running perfectly fine. The fans aren't even running that loud, which is unusual because usually I would expect them to be running very quickly and extremely loud. Sometimes I could record a video on Call of Duty and it just overpowers everything. Can I grab this yet? Yes, I can. Alright, so take a look at the lighting at the moment. Alright, sure, it's still very good graphics for what the game is and what the game's offering itself. Obviously, you're not going to notice an awful lot of difference as it goes through the different modes. Careful! So I can shoot people with it. But first of all, the lighting on it there's not really any shadows or anything going around. You expect this thing to light it all up. Or some sort of super beam thing. Sure, this part of the game takes forever. So now let's move on to medium settings. Medium graphics quality, motion blur low. I don't tend to have motion blur on, but for sake of this test I'm going to have it on. So as you can see, it kind of makes it a bit more vibrant, especially with all the shadows and also the details. It's not as grainy as it was. However, when you go up to these darker, more shadowy areas, you do start to notice a lot better. But then again, it could just purely be part of the game itself, not being able to process that sort of stuff. Now let's move on to high settings. I have got render resolution scale. So you reduce this to increase performance, but it's also going to increase the resolution technically. And as you can see there, it's a huge jump. It's not quite as grainy as it was to start off with, but then again, it's still got all that grain, but it's mainly to do with the game itself. It's not so much the graphics card. So when you go around here, you see the lighting, still bad, but then again, it's designed in a cave system. I'm not too sure what this grain is. I'm going to see if I can reduce the grain, because it is actually on high, so I'm going to reduce that to 0 or near 0 if I can. Yes, there we go. So as you can see, I've solved the grain resolution, or the film grain at least, and it's nowhere near as grainy as it was. So not sure why they have the grain. I've never actually researched that, but all I know is that this is looking a lot better than it would start off with. So reduce the film grain and it will be perfectly fine. Now let's move up to ultra settings. Now it's the part which is going to adjust everything. It's going to hopefully add a lot more to it. Upscaling, we don't want no upscaling, it's going to keep it on that. Render resolution scale, I'm going to put that on max. Just test it, because as far as I'm seeing so far, it's working perfectly fine and there's nothing majorly affecting it. And I'm going to assume there's no sort of like ray tracing with this gun at all. Right, there is a little bit, but it doesn't cast any shadows or anything that you would expect it to. Like this bit down here, you expect it to have a bit up, but it doesn't. Makes no sense, but you know. So as you see here, we've got a flashlight now, or a torch if you're in England, and I'm quite liking the graphics. it's not too bad, but it's also, I know it can be better, but it's running very well on the Legion 5, and it's kind of to be expected. It's quite a high-end gaming laptop itself, and it shouldn't really be having any sort of effect on what's going on. But so far all I can see is it's not really affecting an awful lot in terms of the graphics. It might just be me, or it might just be a laptop's capabilities. It's 1080p display. But in general, if you are thinking about getting a gaming laptop to run as many games as possible on, so games like Minecraft, maybe STARFIELD if you are thinking about getting that, things like Forza Horizon on max settings, Call of Duty on max settings, that runs quite well. Unless you want to do it really competitive and get the most FPS out of it, then obviously you decrease the settings, the graphical settings, and you know, it gets you more of a competitive FPS. I'm going to assume I've got to go back around here. Here I have.
You think we'll be done here soon?
How they sucker you to join? All for the fancy
So, my general conclusion, it's a brilliant laptop for running stuff. You can run it no problems at all. It's just a basic general review on can it run it on all settings, and it looks like it can. Obviously, a lot of times when you're in things like caves like this and that in games, it does tend to get quite graphically demanding, mainly because you've got all the shadows, all the lighting, and all that sort of stuff. That's what I've experienced anyway, especially when I'm playing games like Minecraft. Even sometimes when you're in a cave, the graphics requirements tend to increase a little bit more, but sometimes it's all about the CPU, especially in games like Minecraft, which aren't RAM intensive or graphic intensive. It's more CPU bound, as opposed to games like Call of Duty, which need an awful lot of RAM. This needs a really high-end graphics card. So in general, if you're looking for a laptop and you're thinking about getting one, the Lenovo Legion 5 laptops are brilliant for the job. Now, as it is 2023 and I got this in 2022, it's still holding its own. So if you see one going up for sale anywhere and you're thinking about getting it, it's definitely a good deal. They do have multiple versions though. You do have ones with 8GB of RAM, mine's 16GB straight out of the box, and it is a 3070. They do have a 3060, but 3060 is slightly slower and it's not as great in terms of the graphics it offers. But in general, I'm quite liking it. But I have also been experiencing this a lot more. I've personally had a longer gameplay experience in it. So things like flying the ship around and that, and you'll see that in my videos, which will be coming out very, very soon. Now this is my favourite bit, which I like to look at, just mainly because all stuff that comes up on the display, if it's going to break, most probably would. But again, this is pretty much a video inside of the game, it's not so much part of the game itself. But again, there's no stuttering or anything in terms of the FPS. I'm not sure what the FPS is running at, but I'm not too bothered about that. The goal is to review this laptop and see if it's a good match, and it is, it's a perfectly good match. So if you see one going,
okay, take it easy. You were out
and you think about getting one, it's a perfect laptop for you. Even the new ones are perfect. So without further ado, I'm going to wrap the video up there.
Who you are?
See you guys at sign. Goodbye.